On the topic of gangs too, you know, he's in a California prison, and the California gang politics are very different. You know,
for sure.
Way here in Brooklyn, you know, there are gangs, right? And a prominent, you know, New York City rapper recently equated fraternities to gangs and said the only difference is that they do, you know, different activities basically. And then Mark Lamont Hill, who's a noob, challenged him on that a little bit and was like, yo, would you want your son to join, this and the third, you know, what's the differences? And I'll say this much, right? I'm in a fraternity, shout out to Alpha Phi Alpha, right? I can see where there can be some similarities in terms of the goal of brotherhood, but I've never seen anybody in the Divine Nine slash niggas for initiation. I've never seen a fraternity intervention or prevention program. And while there is some violence associated with, like, yeah, you know, Greeks get into fights on campus, and if you break their line while they're strolling, you can get beat up. Yes, those things are actual, factual. However, that's a more intentional act most of the time, right? But I do think too that I think sometimes when people make that false equivalency and don't push back on it, it's usually people that are not in a fraternity or people that are, you know, super in the street and they just don't understand it, right? Like, I can't tell you how many times people say, yo, ain't you one of them sororities? They just don't know the difference.
Yeah. So, you know, you guys hold yourself to certain standards. I think frats and sororities hold themselves to certain standards where it's like we're pushing ourselves to, like, make an impact and be better and keep advancing, you know? So, and with a frat, like, it's like you don't have to necessarily make that, I gotta get out of this, I gotta change my circles in order to keep progressing. You just can naturally do that because the people you're around is naturally doing that, you know? So it's more, you know, that's to me the biggest difference. Like,
I think that's spot on. And, you know, when I wanted to go to law school, there was somebody in my chapter that could guide me through that process. When I was an engineer, there's somebody in my chapter that could guide me through that process.
Exactly.
When I was like, yo, I'm gonna do real estate, somebody that could guide me through the process.
Exactly.
When I was having my first kid and my second kid, there's somebody that could guide me through that process.